Well, let's go back to the studio and we can join Shaun Wright-Phillips, Paul Dickov and Natalie.
Welcome back to Match Day Live. Thank you so much for joining us. So it's half-time, Juventus versus Manchester City, and it is still 0-0 in this Champions League, the 6th game of this Champions League group stage. I'm still joined in the studio by Shaun Wright-Phillips and by Paul Dickov, and not by any chairs. Gentlemen, how are you?
Good. I'm standing like this.
I don't know, I'm feeling quite tall right now.
You're not, mate. You're not.
So, 0-0 at half-time. City have dominated the possession there in the first half. 66% of the possession has gone to City. Just one shot on target for both teams in that first half. Considering I had hoped for a game of football which was open and exciting and not holding back and very defensive, that is not what we got. But if we're being optimistic, although it's still 0-0, City definitely the better team in the first half, Paul.
Yeah, control possession as we know they did. Maybe a little bit... tempo's a little bit too slow. Juve, we know, like all Italian teams, get back in. Defensively very sound, and you know, the one chance from Erling that we'll talk about in a little bit. But defensively, they've looked a lot better. But it's just that it felt like a bit like pre-season game we were saying as we were watching it. You know, tempo was so slow, and Juve just seemed happy sitting in there.
That I couldn't disagree with much that Paul just said there. I think.
What would you disagree with?
The height situation. But no, in terms of the game, yeah, I don't think Juve have really turned up to try and win this game. Even when the ball goes forward, he's up there on his own. There's not many people getting there to support, to help with the attack or the counter-attack, which is City can deal with that. And I think defensively, it could be part of the way they're playing. But in terms of us, I think we've done okay. We've not give them too much to feed off of or to grow into the game. And I'd just like to see us maybe take a little bit more chances, shots outside the box, and try to get Haaland a few more opportunities, because we've seen the one little link-up play and we're through on go. And for me, does everything right there, apart from you just say it was just nitpicking, lift it a little bit higher.
Me and Shawnee were saying, watching it, it's as if after 10 minutes, Juventus have went out there to... We're happy for a point today.
Yeah.
You know, we don't really want to go attacking. We don't want to leave ourselves open. They're so good at getting people back behind the ball, but out of the both teams, obviously, we want to win every game we play in. But it looks as if Juve at home, which is surprising in front of their own fans, they're quite happy, and I think if the game finished now, they'd be delighted getting a point. Surprising
to us, but not surprising to them, because as I mentioned in the pre-match show, the Juventus fans, the Juventus media have taken to calling them Draw-Ventus this season because of the amount of draws that they've had. I was on an Italian football podcast this week talking with a Juventus fan who was saying that he feels like they're going out in all their games this year wanting a draw. They're scared of losing as opposed to going out to win, which is surprising to us, which even though that fan had told me that, I still wasn't expecting it tonight, because they're at home in front of their own fans. Shaun, why are they defending so deep?
I said it to Paul at the start of the game, it's weird. Home team, Ederson's just chilling on the ball, no pressure on him whatsoever, and that kind of set the stall out for them. And from then, they've just pretty much done the same thing. And like I said, if you are going to sit back, then you're, in theory, you're meant to be a counter-attack inside, but they're not really doing that either. They win the ball, City have time to recoup and get back, and then it's like them trying to break down 10 men on the pitch. They give the ball back, and then they drop back. So for us, it's a bit of cat and mouse and finding the right passes. And like I said, the one time we found that right pass to Kevin, we created a chance off it. So we're going to have to try and, in many ways, force that ball a little bit more, because they're so compact within those central areas. And they're saying to us, go wide, because we're a big team and we've got the men to deal with the crosses coming in, especially if they're high.
I think, and Kit said it in commentary as well, about getting the ball to Doku maybe a little bit earlier. Because even if what he's doing is he's drawn two players out to him all the time, which is then leaving spaces. But it's just about being patient, maybe moving the ball a little bit quicker, and wait for the chances that Shaun's talking about. Because when you've got a Jack in the team and you've got Kevin De Bruyne in the team, you've got Bernardo Silva and Doku, who we're talking about, they can create something like that. So it's just about making sure defensively we're still sound there, but maybe have that little bit more attacking, a little bit quicker, because their tempo is really slow. It's allowing Juve just to sit back into their shape, and they're quite happy with that.
Let's have a look at some of the stats from the first half. So I mentioned 66% possession there for City, 1 attempt on target for both teams, 3 total attempts, 1 save. Very, very similar there. You look at the distance covered, very similar. But if you look at the pass completed, City were nearly double the passes, higher pass completion rate as well, which kind of is exactly what you've been saying, how we're just knocking it around at the tempo. So interesting stats there, just 1 foul committed as well. But what are those passes completed, given that it is twice as many as Juventus? What does that tell you, Shaun?
That is weird, because we was talking about how much the manager kind of likes to play like Pep, but he's almost set up to play like he's happy not having the football. Even when they get the ball, I wouldn't say it's not patient, but I wouldn't say it is patient either. They're looking for certain passes, they're not on. They try to go forward, they've been caught offside a few times. We get the ball back and it's like, hey, you can have the ball and we'll see what we can do after, which effectively at the minute hasn't been much. They've had a shot from outside the box and a few chances that could have possibly formed into something. But other than that, I don't think they've troubled us that much.
If you look at those top 5 passing, easy to say, you can see it's all defenders there. Well, Gundogan obviously in midfield, but further back, Walker, Lewis, Vardy, Ruben. The 5 top there are all playing in a defensive role. What does that tell you about how the first half's gone?
It's just Juve are sitting back. They're sitting in and letting the back players, and Gundo, who's a 6, they're letting them have the ball. They want to stop getting the ball to the players just Doku, Jack, Kevin, Bernardo and Erling. They're quite happy containing where they are at the minute. But on the flip side, 4 out of the 5 Juve players were back forwards as well. So it's showing you that both teams are looking to play out from the back, but once they get into the middle and final third, that there's not a lot on.
You'll never see a team top 5 distances without Bernardo Silva somewhere in there. Although I imagine if he saw that, he'd be really annoyed that he wasn't number 1, because he usually is. But Gundogan top there for City, Gundogan, Grealish, Vardy, Silva, and De Bruyne there as well. So that's the stats from the first half. One big chance for City in that first half, you mentioned it was the chance for Erling Haaland. Kevin De Bruyne ball to, the joy for me of seeing Kevin De Bruyne link back up with Erling Haaland. I've missed it so much, Shaun, but it was a brilliant De Bruyne ball to Haaland, who got the end of it, but it was a great save. Before we talk about the transition after that, let's talk about the chance and how good it is to see Kevin back supplying Erling.
It's fantastic. Even when he was on the verge of his comeback and you see him on the bench, you get excited just from that, and see him get in those positions is exactly what me and Paul said before the game, and I should imagine a lot of other people have said the same thing. Once he gets more games under his belt, we're going to see little things like this. First of all, the ball to him personally between those 2 Juventus players was a great ball. It got force pass, but his first touch was tremendous to kind of just take it and see where Haaland is and not play it to his feet, but put it the wrong side of the defender. And Haaland, as he does in those 3 yards, makes up that ground. And like I said, for me, he does everything right. And he tries to lift it. And I think it's a fantastic save from the keeper. The keeper's going down to his right and manages to pull his left arm up and it stops it.
I don't think there's a lot Erling could have done there. People will say maybe should have slotted it, but the keeper was out on top of him so much and so quickly went as he went through. So little Dink actually thought it was the right thing to do, but as Shaun said, the keeper's reaction was fantastic. But great to see that KDB Haaland link up again, and need a little bit more in the second half. Actually.
Oh, I've missed that link up, Paul. I have. Have you got any concerns about what happened after that? So Erling had the chance, and then I felt like we looked a bit vulnerable after Juventus went back down the other end, and probably the only time that they got us on the counter in that sort of transition. I felt like we looked a bit vulnerable.
Yeah, but I think that's we're actually getting bodies forward there. You know, it's not just Kevin and Erling that was on that. You know, Jack was up there, Bernardo. And the thing is, we put too many players forward. We are vulnerable a little times to one ball over the top of our press and catching us out. And don't forget, I know we're saying Juve have been a bit boring, but they've got some good players. Yildiz looks a really good player. Conceição spoke about Vlahovic. You know, they've got top players in their team as well. And at some point in any game, they're going to cause you problems.
Yeah, and let's not forget as well, they've only conceded 10 goals in the league this season. I mean, defensively, they are really solid. But what are we going to have to do, Shaun, in the second half to break that defence down? I
think a bit like what Paul said, move the ball quicker. I think there's times where they do go forward. We got to take those opportunities effective, like they did to us, to create their chance. When there's gap to there, take them. Like, even if we attack him freeze, sometimes take the gamble, because that's what Haaland's waiting for. That's enough space for him, because eventually one of those defenders have to step out, and that's create space for Haaland to run into. And if that defender goes with him, then there's space for, as we've seen Kevin do many times before, or whoever it is, take the ball into that space instead.
If there's any changes, obviously at half-time we'll let you know, although of course we know in a City team there rarely is. But if you were going to make changes in the second half, obviously Savinho, I know you're a big fan of Savinho and you really feel like his goal is coming. Would Savinho be perhaps an option that might come on with a bit more energy?
Savinho, and then obviously we've got Phil on the bench, who's back in the squad again today. And maybe because they are so deep and they're condensing everything from the midfield to our back four, Phil in the little pockets in his half-turn. There's nobody better in the game than doing that, but I don't expect to see any changes at the minute.
Neither do I.
I think the main thing they'll be saying in there, first and foremost, let's make sure we get a clean sheet, because the more patient they are, they'll up the tempo a little bit, they will get more chances in the second half.
I know that you always make me feel very, very positive, but I still feel, I said it before, I still feel like this game is a must-win. I feel like a draw is not good enough at this point, because I want to be in the top 8. I don't want us ending up in the playoffs. OK, we'd be through and I'd be confident that we'd win a playoff game, but I don't want us to have those 2 extra games, at the early next season. It's still a must-win for me, Shaun. Do you really think we need to go on and make sure we get the win tonight?
Look, I don't want us to have those extra playoff games, but in terms of looking at it from maybe a different way, in terms of other players being able to get minutes in games, that could help as well. More game time for some of the players that are just coming back. But I think we've got what it takes. And even though we're saying we need to win this and the other two, we might not need to. We might be able to finish in that top 8 with a draw and 2 wins. So keeping a clean sheet for me is positive. If we can get a goal, even better. But let's just walk away from here with something.
Yeah, it's the old saying, isn't it? If you can't win the game, make sure you don't beat.
Yeah.
OK. No, I want to win. Right. I wanted to tell you about the mugs, in case you're wondering about the mugs on the table. Do you want to show your mug, Shaun, with your S on it?
Do you know how far I have to bend down to this table?
You're not that tall, Shaun. Right, so Shaun's got a mug with a S on. So I brought in, for Christmas, everybody that works in the studio a mug with their initials on it today. Now, we were supposed to be being joined by tennis player Liam Brodie today, but he's poorly, so we're sending Liam Brodie all of our love. We hope he gets well soon, and we'd love to see him on the Matchday Live studio very, very soon. So Paul opened Liam's present. So Paul now has a mug with a L, and Shaun, you have Shaun proclaimed it, not me. Yeah. Shaun proclaimed it to stand for...
A little man.
Which I took. It was when he called me leprechaun after it, I wasn't too happy with.
So that is the reason for the mugs. Every single person in the studio has one, except I forgot to get one for myself.
Thank you,
Never mind.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Love you all. Love all the crew that work on Matchday Live. Right, the players are coming back out. If there is any changes, Alistair Mann will let you know. Looks cold there as well, by the way. Did you see that? Yeah. Crikey. Right, join us full time. I am sending all of the positive energy in the world for 3 points, a clean sheet and 3 points. We're going for it. 2 goals, a clean sheet, 3 points, up the big old Champions League table that I need to get a better name for. Shaun Wright-Phillips, thank you very much for being here at half-time. Thank you very much, Paul, for being here. Thank you, little man, for being here at half-time. It's much appreciated. He said it, not me. Thank you very much for watching Matchday Live. We'll be back at full-time. Oh, Blues, please, come on. Right, back over now to Alistair Mann and to Kit Symons.
Thanks, Natalie. I don't think I'd ever call Kit Symons little man. Towering over me. Well, not at the moment, we're both sat down, but you get the gist anyway. Thiago Motta doesn't look as though he's made any changes at half-time, and I'll be very surprised if he changes his tactics either. Phil Foden and Danilo were just exchanging pleasantries, former teammates, of course.